The hardest thing in the world is to live only once.
Wow. That is, uh, that is a heavy way to start things off.
It hits you right in the gut, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's a line from Ocean Vuong's novel, The Emperor of Gladness.
Mhm.
And I wanted to start there because it just perfectly captures that, that low-level anxiety so many of us feel. You know the feeling.
Oh, completely. That little panic
Yeah.
that this is your one shot.
Yes.
So you better be optimizing every single second of it. If you're not, I don't know, you're blowing it somehow.
Exactly. It turns life into this constant performance review. Like, we've got this invisible scorecard in our heads.
Career, money, status.
Totally.
Yeah.
And we're just terrified that when the buzzer sounds, we're not going to have enough points. It's the rat race, but it feels so much more internal than that.
It is internal.
Yeah.
And usually when you hear advice about escaping the rat race, it's
Yeah.
all very tactical. Here's how to work a 4-hour week. Here's how to retire at 30. It's all about hacking the system to get out.
Right. But today, we are going way, way deeper than that. We're diving into a philosophy that suggests maybe we're just measuring the wrong things completely. We're going to be unpacking this incredible conversation between Mel Robbins and the poet and novelist Ocean Vuong.
And for anyone who might not know his work, Ocean Vuong is just a literary heavyweight. MacArthur Genius Grant, tenured professor at NYU.
But he's also a refugee from Vietnam, grew up in Hartford, Connecticut in a working poor family.
Raised by women who were mostly illiterate,
Mm-hmm.
working in nail salons. So his whole perspective on success, it's not coming from a textbook.
No, it is coming straight from the ground level.
Yeah.
And that's our mission for this deep dive. We're going to look at his arguments on dignity, on shame, and this myth of the mountaintop.
Because he basically says that the very things we're trying to escape, our struggles, our past, our so-called failures, that's actually where our power is.
He slips the script on almost everything. And he starts with dignity. I think most people, and I include myself here, we operate on this idea that dignity is something you earn.
Right. You get the job, you buy the nice suit, and then you have dignity.
Then you get to have it. Or that it's about commanding respect, standing tall, making sure everyone knows you matter.
Mm-hmm.
But Vuong tells this story from his childhood that it completely reframes the whole thing. He calls it the tomato moment.
I remember reading this in the notes. It's so vivid.
It is. So you have to picture it. It's the 90s. He's a little kid, and he's at a Stop and Shop with his mom.
Okay.
And they're at the checkout line. Now, if you grew up without a lot of money, the checkout line is not just a place to buy food. It is a high-stress environment.
It's the moment of truth.
It's the moment of truth. Can you actually pay for what's in your cart?
Or does the math fail you right there in public?
And in this story, the math is failing. His mom is counting out pennies. She's trying to buy some plum tomatoes, and she realizes she just doesn't have enough. So she has to do that thing everyone dreads. She has to start putting food back, watching those red tomatoes just roll back down the conveyor belt.
That's awful.
And he looks up at the cashier, who's this young guy, maybe a teenager, and Ocean is just bracing himself, for the eye roll, the sigh.
The hurry up, you're holding up the line look.
Yeah.
That sort of public disdain for poverty.
Yes, exactly. But the cashier doesn't do that.
What does he do?
The cashier looks away.
He looks away. See, my first instinct is to think that's rude. Like, oh, he's ignoring us. We're invisible.
That's what I thought too. But Vom says no. He realized years later that it wasn't judgment. It was.
Oh.
It was an act of profound mercy.
Explain that. That's a subtle distinction.
The cashier understood they were in this vulnerable moment. So by looking away, he was refusing to witness their shame. He was giving them a little pocket of privacy.
He was letting them handle it without an audience.
Yes. Vom calls it a collaboration of dignity.
I love that phrase. It's not about being proud and seen. Sometimes it's about letting someone else save face. It's communal.
It completely challenges this idea that we have to perform our worth for everyone. And this is the really hard part. He says dignity is about owning the parts of your story you're tempted to edit out.
Right. The instinct is to say, I'm successful despite the fact my mom couldn't afford tomatoes.
We want that clean success story, the overcoming adversity narrative.
But he's saying, no, keep the tomatoes in the story. If you cut out the struggle, you're cutting out who you are. He says dignity is looking at what people told you to discard and realizing it's always part of you.
That's a beautiful idea. But it's tough. It's easy to say own your struggle when you're a famous professor, when you're in it. It just feels like shame.
And he doesn't deny that. He's not trying to sugarcoat it. In fact, he actually leans into shame. He thinks it can be useful.
This part really surprised me because we're always told to banish shame. Shame is toxic. Get rid of it.
He's shameless.
Yeah. But Vuong says, use it.
He calls it a propulsive force.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to separate two types of shame here. He talks about ontological shame and shame of action.
Okay, let's break that down. Ontological shame sounds academic.
It's simpler than it sounds. It's the shame of just being, for him, that was being a refugee, being poor, being queer. It's the feeling that your very identity is wrong.
That's a heavy burden.
A very heavy burden. And that's the kind of shame you have to heal from. But then there's the shame of action. That's the feeling that what you're doing isn't enough.
And that's the shame that drove him to business school.
The business school story. It's wild. I cannot picture Ocean Vuong in a microeconomics class.
Not at all.
But he felt this huge pressure to save his family, be the good immigrant son. So he enrolls in business school in New York City.
And this dream lasts for about, 4 weeks?
About that, yeah. And the thing that breaks him is a suit.
A suit.
Or the lack of one. He shows up, and everyone looks like they're already on Wall Street. And he didn't own a suit. He said his family had one suit, a funeral suit.
And he didn't bring it because he wasn't planning on anyone dying.
Right. But the message was clear. He walks in and just knows, I am not one of these people. I can't fake this.
So he drops out. But he doesn't go home.
He couldn't. The shame was just too big. He felt like he was the family's one hope. If he went back, he was admitting that hope was dead.
So he stayed in New York.
And slept in Penn Station for 2 weeks.
Homeless. Because he couldn't face his mom. That level of shame it's hard to even imagine.
It is. But this is where that propulsive force idea comes in. He's sitting there feeling like total failure, and instead of just crumbling, he starts asking questions.
Why do I feel this way? Why is my family poor?
Why is the system set up like this? He didn't just wallow. He got curious. He went to the library, started reading. He needed to understand the architecture of his own sadness.
And that's how he became a writer. The shame literally pushed him toward language.
Exactly. The shame was the engine. Which leads to this beautiful metaphor he uses now with his students, the pebble and the ripple.
I love this. It's such a healthy way to look at your past self.
So he says to imagine a pond. You throw a pebble in, the pebble sinks, it's gone.
Okay.
But on the surface, you see these expanding ripples, he says. You are the ripple, your current self, but you only exist because of the pebble.
The pebble is the younger you, the one who made the mistakes, the one who slept in the train station.
Yes. And we usually look back at that pebble and just cringe. Why was I so stupid?
Oh, I do that all the time, the 3 a.m. cringe session.
We all do. But Vuong says to stop. He tells his students to invite that younger self into the room and just say, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Because that younger self, as lost as they were, had the intention to get you here. They kept going. They survived so you could be here.
Thank you for being the pebble so I could be the ripple.
That really reframes trauma as a foundation, not just a scar.
It stops you from being at war with yourself.
And that war with yourself is something he talks about a lot, especially with the language inside our own heads.
Right, that internal monologue. For a lot of us, it's a bully. And he points out that we're bombarded by language designed to make us feel small. Ads, corporate speak. You aren't enough, so buy this.
If you hear that enough, you start repeating it to yourself. So how do you fight back? Because just think positive never works.
It feels so fake. So he offers this tool. It's almost mechanical. He calls it secular prayer.
Okay.
He says to take a piece of text you love, a poem, a quote, whatever, and physically copy it down. Pen to paper.
Why the physical act?
Because when you're spiraling, your brain is stuck in its own toxic loop. By tracing someone else's words, you are literally overwriting your own internal script for a few minutes.
That's like borrowing a better brain.
Exactly. It breaks the momentum. And once you do that, you can use what he calls sequential thinking. This comes from Buddhist psychology.
The one ball theory.
Yeah, the one ball theory. The idea is that your conscious mind can only hold one object of attention at a time. One ball.
So you can't feel self-hatred and compassion in the exact same instant.
Physics won't allow it. So the strategy is, if you're holding the I hate myself ball, you have to force yourself to pick up a different one.
You have to displace it.
And his example is so moving. He says when he's spiraling, he thinks of his brother who works in retail.
Right.
He closes his eyes and consciously thinks, I hope my brother's having an okay shift. I hope his feet don't hurt.
And by focusing on that,
he physically has to drop the ball of self-hatred. He displaces his own suffering with compassion for someone else.
it's so counterintuitive. Usually we turn inward when we're stressed.
Yeah.
He's saying the way out is to turn outward.
It creates space. And with that space, you can see the big trap more clearly. The trap of success.
A mountaintop.
The mountaintop. We're told our whole lives the point is to climb, get the promotion, get the award.
And Vuong has done it. He's at the top of the literary world. And he sends back a report from the summit. He said,
The graveyard.
a graveyard. So bleak. But he says it's full of bitterness. People who have made it and they're miserable, guarding their status, terrified of falling.
So the destination we're all killing ourselves to reach is awful.
If you stay there, yes. He says the mountaintop isn't for living.
Yeah.
You go up, you gather what you need, resources, a platform, and then critically, you come back down.
Come back down to your people.
You live in the valley.
Yeah.
And he contrasts this with his stepfather's life, which is such a grounding story.
His stepdad worked in a factory for 30 years.
Right, in a screw factory. And I think a lot of us would look at that and think, oh, that's sad. He was just a cog in a machine.
For sure.
But his stepdad used to hang his work uniform with the name tag Nguyen on it, on the wall like a trophy.
Like a trophy.
Because for him, coming from a war zone, that uniform meant health care. It meant a paycheck. It meant his family wasn't starving.
That uniform was his dignity.
It was his triumph. It challenges us to stop judging the size of a life by its job title.
It feels like his whole philosophy is about stripping away that external validation, the mountain, the awards, and finding value in the small things.
Which brings us to the whipped cream.
Yes. My favorite metaphor of the whole thing, the whipped cream of life.
It's his answer to, if the mountaintop is a graveyard, where's the joy?
And he finds it in the most random places, like a basketball league.
The Queer Basketball League. He calls it a beautiful athletic carnival.
I love that he admits he's terrible at it.
That's the whole point. He calls it joyful humiliation. He's missing shots, tripping over his own feet, but he's laughing. It's permission to be bad at something and just enjoy it.
We don't give ourselves that permission enough. Everything has to be a hustle.
But the ultimate whipped cream story, the one that really drives it home, is about his mother.
Yeah, this one gets me.
So his mother is dying of cancer. It's the end. And he asks her about her life, expecting, some big, profound memory, surviving the war, coming to America.
The movie trailer moments.
Right. But she doesn't talk about any of that. She just says, remember when we used to go to McDonald's? Remember we get the chicken nuggets and we'd just sit in the parking lot and eat?
That was it.
That was it. That was her highlight reel. Not the escape from Vietnam. Just sitting in a car dipping nuggets with her son.
Wow. That just puts everything in perspective. We spend our lives stressing about the resume, and at the end, the thing you remember is chicken nuggets on a Tuesday.
That is the lesson. We treat those moments like filler. But Vuong is saying, no, the filler is the substance. That's the whipped cream.
It means we don't have to wait to be happy. The joy is available right now if you just stop looking over the horizon for it.
Exactly.
So if we want to apply this, what's a first step? He gave a really specific challenge.
He did. He says we need to stop asking, how are you?
Because the answer is always a lie. I'm fine, busy.
It's a script. Instead, he says to ask, what was the last thing that made you joyful?
What was the last thing that made you joyful?
Think about what that does. It forces the other person to stop. They have to actually search their brain for a good memory. They have to pick up the joy ball and drop the stress ball.
You're hacking their sequential thinking. You're forcing them to find the whipped cream.
You're inviting them to connect, not just report.
I'm going to try that. It feels a little vulnerable, but I guess that's the point. I want to leave everyone with one last thought from him.
Okay.
He said, scare yourself, but don't be afraid of yourself.
That's such a crucial distinction. Go take the risk. Scare yourself with the size of your life. But when you look in the mirror, don't be afraid of that person staring back.
The pebble and the ripple all in one.
Beautifully put.
This has been heavy, but in the best way. Thanks for walking through this with me.
My pleasure.
And to everyone listening, go find some whipped cream today. Maybe even actual whipped cream.
Highly recommended.
See you next time on The Deep Dive.